My name is Christy Parker, and I live in Alton, Illinois. So in August of 1990, I got a measles vaccine, which I'm thinking was probably the MMR, if that was the only one.
So let's go back. You were at college.
Yes, I was. Yes, we got a letter in the mail, but that summer, saying that we had to get. My memory is just the measles vaccine. It may have been an MMR. I'm not exactly sure.
But that's the way they do it. They say
right.
You need
so
the
probably,
tetanus, and then you end up having the D.
So it probably was the MMR then. So I got that in August before going back to school that year for my senior year in college, and within about a month and a half, I got extremely sick with. I was diagnosed with mycoplasma pneumonia. And within a couple weeks, of antibiotics, my chest x-ray did finally clear, but I was left with severe fatigue, joint pain, brain fog, weight loss, I lost a lot of weight, bleeding gums, night sweats, severe fatigue. I'm talking about where you couldn't even walk through an airport, I would have to be in a wheelchair, joint pain, stiffness. And so eventually I was given a diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome by an infectious disease doctor, which they just tell you to go home and rest. So I have a minor in human biology, and what I did at the time, I did a lot of things. I did diet, a lot of supplements, things like that, and I got a lot better. But then I had a bad relapse after I got a flu that was going around a number of years after that. And then what happened, I was researching once again to see what I could do to make myself better, and I had read a book it's called Osler's Web by Hillary Johnson. It's about this thick. Osler's Web by Hillary Johnson is about this thick, and it chronicles all the research on chronic fatigue syndrome that had been done in the past 10 or 15 years, and it talked about how scientists were finding something that looked like a retrovirus, and they were finding these things, and then all of a sudden their research would be shut down, their funding would be shut, some of these cases their lab was even broken into, and things were ruined. So I thought, in the end of the book, it talks about how it's looking like the symptoms of chronic fatigue syndrome are almost identical to the symptoms of some of these Gulf War vets that were coming home very sick.
Slow down a little bit.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm sorry. So I mentioned that to my mom while she was on the phone with a friend who had been active in politics for many years with education and that kind of thing. And her friend had recently heard a nurse on the radio by the name of Joyce Riley. She said, "Oh, I heard this nurse, and she knows all about Gulf War illness." So she had her phone number. I called her up, and I mentioned that my illness had started with mycoplasma pneumonia. She said, "Well, that's very involved with the Gulf War illness," and she said that she was sick herself and believed it was from the vaccine she was giving to go over there. She was never in country, so it was either from that or flying the guys around. She was Air Force captain in the Air Force, and she mentioned that there was a researcher by the name of Dr. Garth Nicholson who was finding unusual mycoplasma in about half of the Gulf War veterans and about half of people diagnosed with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. It's a long story, but it had an unusual gene attached to it, which is very controversial, but it made this mycoplasma able to go all over the body, into the brain and the joints and that kind of thing, and cause illness all over the body. So of course the government ended up doing a study and said, oh, there was nothing to Dr. Nicholson and Dr. Nancy Nicholson's research, but now we have people like Dr. Judy Mikovits coming out, and we have people like that coming out and saying that they're finding retroviruses and things like that in vaccines. And the mycoplasma is it's kind of has characteristics of a bacteria and a virus. And what Dr. Nicholson was saying, now he's kind of doesn't talk about this as much as he did at first, but he said that it had a gene from the HIV-1 envelope gene attached to this mycoplasma, and in his opinion this could not have occurred by nature. So I believe that HIV is a retrovirus. So this I know is a lot of information, but I just want to mention this because I have all this information that I learned many years ago, and tried to help get this out 20 years ago or whatever, and it's been very hard, but I just want to put this out there and people can look into it, see what they think about it.
And you haven't.
and
This is your beautiful
this is my
daughter.
beautiful daughter, and I healed myself through just, I mean, I could go, that would take a whole another hour to talk about that, but I did everything under the sun, and I got better. And this is my daughter, and
Periscope, hold off on the hearts because she hasn't finished the story, and then I'm going to show you. They want me to tell you how much they love you.
okay.
But in a minute.
Thank you.
In a minute.
And pray for
Periscope.
all of us, because it is scary talking about this kind of thing. You never know what could happen. But so my daughter, she, as you can see, is beautiful, and look at her beautiful eyes. Look at these beautiful eyes. I know that some
You
photographers,
are beautiful. Do you mind us having a look at you? Yes.
some of the
It's official,
photographers
you're beautiful.
have mentioned that they can actually tell a difference in children who have never been vaccinated. They say that their eyes look different, and look at how beautiful and bright
So she
and
said
just
no vaccines.
full of life. No vaccines ever.
You are so beautiful.
Thank you.
And of course, that's because of, you know, the dangers with vaccines, and also we are Catholic, and you can put those on. And so, you know, part of it is also a religious decision that we don't want to have any products that have or are taken from aborted fetuses. We don't want to inject those in our body either. So.
All right, it's time to show you how much you are loved. Okay, let's turn it around. These hearts here are for you. I don't know if you can see, I can't see when I do that. There you go. There.
Hi everyone.
They're
Probably
all-
some of my Facebook friends out there.
So they're all loving on you.
Oh, thank you everyone. Thank you so much.
Do you like that?
Look at all those hearts, honey. You see that? Mm-hmm.
Okay, that'll keep going. Let's go back here. Thank you.